Will the real Green Bay Packer team please stand up? Man, it's been super frustrating. This Packer team, both offensively and defensively, have not put together consecutive good weeks ever since week 1 and 2 against the Lions and then the Commanders. You don't know what to expect from week to week. They are the epitome of a Jekyll and Hyde. They look different depending on who they're playing, and they go on the road at New York. What a better time to then put your best foot forward, get the stride that you've been looking to get, going against Jameis Winston, going against, you're going against the second string running back because Scadaboo's out. You've got Malik Neighbors out for the year. They're missing other pieces, and yet the Green Bay Packers could not look good defensively. They just couldn't stop the run. New York Giants were doing anything and everything that they wanted to do against the run, and it was super discouraging for this Green Bay Packer defense. But the Packers get a double dose of good news. Okay, so Josh Jacobs goes out, and you're wondering, okay, like this is a big blow. You don't know what to expect. It's his knee. You know it's a knee injury. I knew it wasn't like season ending, but nobody knew how serious this thing was. And then the reports come out, hey, Matt LaFleur right after the game is just like, hey, anytime you lose a player of this caliber, it's a sting. He had a minimum. He's going to be a week to week. And then all of a sudden, the latest news comes out just recently from Adam Schefter. Adam Schefter reports that Packers head coach Matt LaFleur told reporters that Josh Jacobs potentially could even be available to play this Sunday against the Vikings despite his knee contusion. It's just a knee bruise. So great news for the Green Bay Packers is that Josh Jacobs is going to be potentially available this week. I don't want them to rush it back. Now it is just a knee contusion, which is great news. I would rather them, get healthy for Thanksgiving against the Detroit Lions because that's going to be a short week, and you don't need anything to, set yourself back going into an important game on the road at Detroit on Thanksgiving. Other bit of good news for the Green Bay Packers receive is that they could potentially have Marshawn Lloyd. And yes, you might be saying, how is that good news? Okay, we don't even know what Marshawn Lloyd is going to be, but here's the thing. Anytime you can get depth pieces, in our backfield, and you've got a nice 1-2 punch right now going on with Emmanuel Wilson and Josh Jacobs. But if Josh Jacobs isn't able to play, man, what better time for Marshawn Lloyd to showcase what he can do than against the Minnesota Vikings, because the defense is going to bring it. That is a very good team. Okay, so let's get into yesterday's game. I want to, I was incredibly frustrated. I want you guys to leave your comments. Let me know your thoughts. Now, we've talked about Matt LaFleur and just how disappointing his performance has been coaching wise out there. But at the end of the day, the biggest frustration for me was drop passes, and Matt LaFleur can't coach maybe a better game than what he did per se. You just have guys, you have to have guys catch the ball. Okay. So when you're outperformed both offensively and defensively, it's incredibly frustrating. The Packers left so much on the defensive side of the ball. They could have had like 4 or 5 turnovers in this game. They get 2 takeaways. So you look at the total yards right there, they're outperformed by this New York Giants offense. That is inexcusable. I understand that, but keep in mind, this was a lot of drop passes by Romeo Doubs, one by Dontavian Wicks. Not to mention defensively, the drop passes we've had by Carrington Valentine, Keyshawn Nixon, when we could have had takeaways and we didn't get those takeaways. And that's huge. The Packers have got to get better with their hands. I just don't understand. I'm hoping we're not going to start seeing what we saw from last year's Packer team where they just could not catch anything. You had Luke Musgrave drop one. There was plenty of other drops out there that were super incredibly frustrating, that were just drive stallers. So passing yards, we were outperformed. Again, inexcusable, but there is a big asterisk there because Jordan Love couldn't have played any better than what he did. He's putting the ball where he needs to. I'm incredibly impressed by Jordan Love. I'm not disappointed by that guy at all. It's the wide receiving core that is incredibly frustrating. But speaking of which, we're going to pause real quick. Big shout out to Christian Watson. Man, that guy, what a sight for sore eyes. Christian Watson coming back. He is a difference maker on this Packer offense. He had great hands. Keep feeding him the ball because everybody else is going to just want to get better when they start seeing a guy like Christian Watson performing out there. So that was incredibly encouraging to see. third down efficiency for the Packers. They did good, 7 of 11, 7 of 14 is what they allowed. So defensively, they started out the game great, and then as the game went on, they gave up a lot. Fourth down conversions or fourth down efficiencies for the Giants was 3 of 4. I'd like to see that cleaned up. Um, Takeaways again, we had 2 to our none, but we could have had about 5 if it wasn't for some drop passes. Time of possession 35 minutes 24. You've got to get that cleaned up as well. Again, comes back to drop passes in this game. Super incredibly frustrating. Another shout out to Micah Parsons. He shows up big when he needs to. He showed up big in on fourth down in the red zone. He came up with a big time sack. It ended up being a half sack. And then at the end of the game, when he calls that fumble, got that sack slash fumble on Jameson Winston, which was because Winston has got a gun. He's got an arm. He was going to get it into the end zone. You never know what could happen at that point in time. And if they were able to come up with a score, this New York Giant team was going to probably go for 2. And the way the Packer defense was going, they probably would have had a loss. So let's take a look a little bit more in depth. Jordan Love, 13 of 24. He had a passer rating of 105. He looked great. It's a shame that Jordan Love only had 13 completions because it should have been more like 20 completions. There was like 7 drop passes that really should have been caught by this Packer receiving core. Again, super frustrating. Fitzpatrick, I think, no, I don't know if it was Fitzpatrick or maybe it was Musgrave that just had that drop pass. Savion Williams, they finally went to him. He came up with a big catch, a 33-yard reception. I really loved to see him get involved, especially as a deep threat. We know the dude has some speed, so why not get him involved? But I want to give a big shout out to Malik Willis as well. Man, that guy, you absolutely hate to see Jordan Love go out, but man, when you don't want anybody else other than Malik Willis in there for you, if you have to turn to somebody else, and it seems like everybody just plays better as a unit when Malik Willis is out there. They're like, okay, Malik Willis is out here. Let's come back for balls. Let's make sure we catch the ball, all of that. He did fantastic. Passer rating of 118. The guy is a dual threat. He also did it with his legs as well. He scampered for 16 yards. Bo Melton getting it done too with a 17-yard run. Matt LaFleur drew up a nice play there for him. Romeo Dobbs, 4 receptions, 53 yards, but he was targeted 8 times and he had 4 drops that should have 4 reception. He missed that deep pass where he kind of led up a little bit. That should have been another reception. But overall, he looked good. Matthew Golden as well. A lot of good stuff out of. He just happened to come up with a drop in that performance. So I'm hoping he is not going to replicate what we saw from him last season. I want you guys to leave your comments. Great news that Josh Jacobs is going to be potentially back this week. I hope not. I hope they rest him, depending on how bad that bone bruise is. I would rather see him play against the Detroit Lions. I want you guys to leave your comments, and as always, go Pack Go.